First, welcome. Thanks for joining. This is being recorded, and the presentation will be uploaded to the Arizona Memory Project after the conclusion of the event, maybe later today, maybe tomorrow. So yeah, but that will be, if you miss anything or if you see something here that you find interesting that you'd like to share with a colleague or just anyone that you think would benefit from this, feel free. So I will show you where those are right now. Easiest way to find it. Here's the AMP homepage, by the way. So azmemory.azlibrary.gov. You can bookmark that if you'd like, and I'll throw that in the chat for you. There you go. So there's AMP's homepage. That'll be in the chat. So one thing you can do, these are called AMPlify your research sessions. So all you really have to do is type AMPlify, run a quick search for it. That'll be one of the first things ought to be that shows up. There's a sub collection. You can see you've got 24 different items already of the videos and documents. This one doesn't have a slide deck because I'm kind of just going more of a test drive of the site to show you some different features and functions versus just kind of general things like these are. But there won't be a slide deck, but this video will be posted here. And I will drop this link in the chat as well, so you can bookmark that as needed. So yeah, it'll be this presentation will be uploaded here later this week. Okay, so first thing I want to bring your attention to, if you're doing heavy research projects and you're using the site over a longer period of time, as in not a single session, you're going to be back. It might take days, weeks, months for you to conclude your research, or you're just doing something over a longer period of time. I highly recommend that you create a member account. I will say that is not required. There's no content that is unlocked by creating a member account. If you don't create one, you have access to the same items as everyone else. But the main advantage, especially if you're doing longer research sessions, is that you can bookmark items that will then be bookmarked within the memory project for you that you can always come back to as long as you're signed in. So I'll show you what that looks like. If you're not signed in, this will say welcome guest, and this will say log in. I'm logged in with just sort of a sandbox account. If you want to create an account, you would just click welcome guest, and then you would just put in an email address and a password. You can see that the email address we use for here is just the generic one, and then you put in whatever password that you want to. And then that sends a notification to me to let me know that you'd like an account. I'll go in and approve it. So it doesn't happen automatically. I do need to go and approve those. And there's a little warning when you create an account that says that. As long as it happens on the same business day, I usually see those immediately. But if you create an account over the weekend or on a holiday or something, it'll be the next business day that I'll see it and get to it. Yeah, so once you're logged in, you can come over here to My Collection. And we'll be doing a little bit more of this later as we start searching for more items and bookmarking them. But the nice thing is you can bookmark items. They'll show up on the left over here. And you can create your own collections within the memory project that are specific to your account. So if you want to keep track of a project or multiple projects, you can organize them as a collection over here. And as one kind of overview resource on using the site, if you come over here to more, this will be there whether you have an account or not. Click more, using the site, research guide. You'll see some other things, but right now we'll talk about the research guide. This is basically an online instruction manual for using the site. So how to create a member account, how to do research, what an asset item versus an information item is, forward links, backlinks, how OCR works on the site, what all the buttons do, filters, facets, features. So we're going to go over some of this stuff, but this is here. It's online. You don't need an account for this either. As long as you have the link, you can access this. So I'm going to throw this link in the chat as well. Feel free to bookmark that. But if you ever get stuck, or if you don't know what a button does, feel free to come over here, and this will tell you how to work, how that kind of thing works. You can also always, email me and say, I'm stuck, I need help, I can't find this thing. Any tips or tricks that you can help me with, you can always just email me, let me know, and I'll help you out. So we'll close these things down just for a minute. Okay, so let's just start from scratch. So there's a few kind of caveats I'll start with very simple things and move on to more complicated things as we go along. So I'll just start with a search. This has been covered in other research sessions that we've done, but just as a place to start, so you can see how you can kind of start building some more advanced research. So we're just going to call it Grand Canyon. These are here because these are searches that I've done before. So as you kind of fill it out, it'll probably remember different fields that you've, or different searches that you've done in the search field. So first, you get there by doing this, by clicking over here. This is called the navigation panel. Use this search. You'll find that there's a search bar in the home page. Couldn't get there. You can use this as well, but if you're going to try and use any sort of advanced features, you're going to want to come over here and do this search. This is just a very catch-all kind of search. So you're going to wind up with the kitchen sink in terms of search results. So you can use it, it's functional, but all your tools are going to come over here. So we should start with very, very basic. So Grand Canyon, okay, great. More than 417 pages, which means more than 10,000 items. There's a hard limit of 10,000 items in the search results before it just sort of stops showing you things. So that's what that 417 pages means. So yeah, that's depending on the kind of research that you're doing, it's way too broad. So you're going to want to be able to fine tune some of this stuff. I'll show you what all these things do over here, but first I'm going to go back and show you some of the things that you can do before you even get to the search results. So here comes formats. These are all different item templates. So in the memory project, there's 20 plus templates based off of what they are. So here you've got videos, persons, place, newspapers, maps. So if you already know what kind of item you want, say Grand Canyon maps, it's going to be a lot easier to find what you need to come over here and uncheck everything except maps instead of typing Grand Canyon maps, because this is going to be searching for words in the metadata or in the OCR text items within it. So a map usually isn't going to call itself a map. It's going to just say, you know, the title of what it is. Like, you know, this is a map of the, you know, the Grand Canyon. But it's not going to say, usually it doesn't say map of, it'll say Grand Canyon. It just happens to be a map. So this is going to get you a lot better over here. This is going to limit your search results to the item type. Within data, this is going to search the title only. So title as a metadata field. All fields means it's going to search the title and all the metadata fields. So it's going to be, you know, creator, date created, if it has like a call number or an identifier, who, you know, when was published, things like that. And then all fields plus content. The plus content means OCR, so optical character recognition. If it's a document like in Arizona Highways Magazine, that's been OCR'd, it's going to look for the words Grand Canyon in the issue of Arizona Highways. And so it's going to be searching the OCR for everything, the entire site. It's going to look for the words Grand Canyon anywhere in the title, the metadata fields, and the OCR. I'm going to come back to this one in a bit. This one gets really fancy, but we'll leave it alone for now. Date. If you know you're looking for a specific date range, so if you wanted something from, you know, the 1920s, so we'll put in, and you do need to put a complete date for both in the month-day format, month-day year. So we'll just call it January 1st of 1920, 12/1, 1929. So you want to search the whole decade. Then I'm going to come back over here. Yeah, got our maps. Let's search everything. So all keywords, it's going to search for Grand Canyon, both of those words. So it's going to look for Grand, it's going to look for Canyon, not necessarily in that order. Any keywords, it's going to be sort of like an or, Grand, or Canyon. And then exact phrase search is going to look for Grand Canyon in that order. So if it finds Grand but not Canyon, it won't show you a search result because it's looking specifically for Grand Canyon. So just applying some of those basic filters. Call it exact phrase match. Now we're on a search. Great. Now you've gone from over 10,000 results to just 3 because you told it, I only want to see maps, and I only want to see maps that were made in the 1920s. Now you've got 3. So this tells you, you know, that there are only 3 items that match that criteria. If that's too few, you can just hit the back button, tell it, okay, well, that's too many things. Maybe I need to expand my search, give it a couple extra decades. Okay, now there's 12, right? So you can always go back to your original search parameters and change your criteria for what you're doing. The other thing that you can do is you can use these over here. Some of these are the same as that search. Some of them are a little bit different. For now, I'm going to go back and show you the search within fields. So this first has you pick a specific template. So we're concerned with maps right now. These are all the metadata fields. So when you come over here and you say all fields, that's what these are. So map all fields refers to all of these. Every item type, every item template has a little bit different fields in it. A lot of these are the same. Some of them are different. Some of the fields that are exclusive to maps are scale is one of them, things like that. So you're telling it, I want to look for a map. And let's just say, let's do that. So when you're doing this, this changes what you put in the search. So now the search that you're looking for is going to be looking just for maps and in the date depicted field. So if you type for Grand Canyon again, it's not going to find anything because the date depicted is going to have a date in it, not the words Grand Canyon, because the words Grand Canyon are not a date. So let's see if we can get 1926 to work with this. Oh, and then make sure you click add. Then you'll know that it's there because it shows up. And then if you want to remove it because you picked the wrong field or something like that, you can do that as well. Cool. So now you're finding maps that have 1926 in the date. Not necessarily Grand Canyon maps, because the date that the advanced search that you told it to run is now looking for just maps that have 1926 in the date depicted field. So that's these. Okay, so and if you ever want to restart a search, just click reset. Everything starts over the way that it was, back to its defaults. So you can always start over. So now I'll show you a general search, what you can do after the search if you get too many search results. So we'll just let it be as broad as possible. Maybe you want to make sure that it catches everything and then fine tune along the way, because the more specific you get here, the more likely you might accidentally leave out something you might be interested in later. So let's just get it very broad for now. All right, that's where these come in. So the date is the same. You can enter those date filters the same that you want to. Within data, that's the same as that search parameters back on that other search page. These are different. So one has the following: geotags has been OCR'd, and do they have tags captions on them? So geotags, basically, this is going to refer to an item that has been geographically located. That may not be as needed here just because, you probably know where the Grand Canyon is. OCR, does it have OCR run on it for most things? Yes, it's going to. And then tags, captions, those are extra sort of labels that get added to an item. It's not technically metadata, it's searching it for in a different way. But we'll just use this as an example. So here's a picture of Governor Hunt and a couple others at the John Wesley Powell Monument. These are tags. So the tag isn't for the Grand Canyon, the tag is for George Hunt, and then you can click on this and that will take you to where it is in the item. So sometimes you might find something else on accident, like, oh, I was looking for a Grand Canyon thing, but along my research, I found something that was tagged and there's George Hunt, and maybe now I want to fine tune my research to visits to the Grand Canyon by George Hunt, something like that. So that's something you can always do. That's what tags are. Starts with, this isn't going to be particularly useful for the kind of search that we're doing, but if you're looking for something that would be easier to find, because you know what the title is, and you kind of want to like, well, there's 902 things. I know this thing starts with G. I don't want to have to scroll all the way through. Let's just see if we have anything that starts with G. There you go. Cool. So there. Again, that didn't do much. Now we're 2022, but you can see that, okay, now it's just, it's looking for things that have Grand Canyon in it. It's highlighted there, and it's only things that start with G. So it filters out everything else. You can always remove, and any of these you can remove the filters. Okay, and then formats. So these are all the item templates. These are the same as that search before, where if you told it, hey, limit my search to this specific item type. So these are all the item types that have something Grand Canyon that it found somewhere in there. And these little guys, this will let you do additional drop down. So let's say you are looking for a map. So that lets you, so you can see that where I clicked this, there's new things that are available available in the drop down. So these are additional fields that you can sort by. So creator, contributing institution, who, what institution contributed to the memory project, what collection it belongs to, geographic feature, county. If you're really specific in location, they'll tell you the public land survey system where that metadata exists, and then the agency. So in this case, we're just going to do a map. We're just going to go by creator, and you can click it again. It's going to do another drop down. And this is where you're going to get, once you're out of little arrows to click, these are the actual search results that you're going to get. So if you're interested in, I want to know about any Grand Canyon maps that were produced by Atchison, Topeka, Santa Fe Railway Company, you'll be scrolling down until you get here. These numbers tell you how many search results are going to be. This is alphabetical rather than by popularity. So if you wanted that one map, there it is. And it tells you where it found Grand Canyon in it. So there's, so this is an item formatted as a map related to the Grand Canyon that was created by the Atchison, Topeka, Santa Fe Railway Company. Cool. So that's, I covered a lot of the stuff in previous ones, but just because we're doing like more advanced stuff as far as, how to do a search, different things that you might want to do to run a search. There's a lot of extra things here that are more than just sort of a general, here's how you search, right? So here's how you kind of like really dig into things. Okay. So while we're here, I'll show you how you can bookmark an item. So anytime you get to an item's specific page, like this, you can see that it's formatted as a map. All its metadata is over here. You can see that it's linked to different places. So Coquina County, Grand Canyon National Park. We'll put a pin on that for a second, which collection it came from. So for any item, you can click over here. This is going to be under the toolbar for all items. Add to my collection, give you a little notice. If you already have something in your collection, it'll also tell you that, so you don't accidentally double bookmark things. And then you can come over here to my collection, and there it is. So no matter where you are on the site, you can always, as long as you're logged in with whatever credentials you used, you can always come back to my collection and it'll be there. So there'll be some search history that's saved, but that's supposed to close this my history section. This will close at the end of the session. You can also clear it if you want to, but this my collection, this is persistent. This stays here until you tell it until you delete it, or if you're not logged in. So as long as you're logged in, this stays here. And I'll show you how you can bookmark a lot of different things at once. So we'll reset, do Grand Canyon again. And we're just going to pretend that these first 23, 24 items are the exact 24 items that you want and you want to come back to. Click this uncheck all, check all. You can see that now there's golden check marks under each of these. Now click to my collections. It's the same function as the star on the item level. So this is like a search results. Click that. Awesome. Come over to my collection. Now they're all there. So that's one way that you can sort of batch bookmark items. We'll come back to this. Let's do another search. We'll talk about how to start a new collection so you can organize your bookmarks. So we'll just do another search for something else. Okay, we'll call it Charlotte Hall because that's convenient and it's right there. Great. Again, we're going to pretend that this first page of search results is exactly what we want. Actually, let's do this instead. Let's pretend the first row is exactly what you want, to show you how you can manually do it. So if you don't want everything on the page, you can just do one by one, make your way through. Great. You have these 5 check marked. Add my collections. Collection's been updated. Come back over here. Okay. So the way that this populates is the most recent one you check marked or bookmarked comes to the top. So that's all that's doing. There's no other way to sort it. It's just whatever's most recent kind of shows up at the top. Okay, so you got all these. Let's say you've got 4 or 5 different ones here, and you're like, okay, well, I don't want to have to scroll through all this every single time. My list is getting long. Okay, here's where you can start a new collection over here. So under Organize, start a new collection. You can call it whatever you'd like. So let's do Grand Canyon Research. Great. We'll do another one while we're here. Oh, sure. Fall Research. Create. And you can click to expand these. They're currently empty, as you can see. But what you can do is you can individually click these. All right. Add checked items to collection. Which one? If you've got multiple, this will give you a little drop down. So Charlotte Hall Research. Charlotte Hall Research, add checked items to collection. And now they show up there. So by default, when you log in, it's probably going to be collapsed. So you can expand it, and there's all your items. You can do things over here. You can delete this entire collection if you want. You can remove individual items from a collection. You can rename the collection if you notice it was a typo, or if the Charlotte Hall Research becomes Charlotte Hall in the Greater Prescott Area Research, you can change the name. And if you're working with other colleagues on this, you can share this collection with anybody else that you'd like, and it'll create a link for you that you can share out. So you don't have to have, this way, if you're working on a multi-person project, you don't all have to bookmark the same items. You can sort of do a divide and conquer where if somebody's doing Charlotte Hall, someone else is doing Grand Canyon, you want to combine powers, then you can just do that, and keep things separate that way. Then you can share your items. And the other thing you can do is you can, again, check, uncheck all. If you've got a bunch of things, sometimes it's faster to, in this case, it'll be faster just to highlight everything and uncheck things that aren't the Grand Canyon. So that checked everything. And uncheck things that aren't Grand Canyon. Pick Grand Canyon Research because that's what we want to, that's what the checked items are. Add checked item to collection. There they are. So this is a really good tool for keeping track of your own research. So that way, if you don't remember, exactly how you found an item, or, oh, how did I do that search? Did I, what year was it? Was it a newspaper or a periodical? This way you don't have to remember what you did before, or you don't have to retrace your steps to find things that were important. You can always just bookmark things, and you can always come back to them whenever you'd like. And then when you're done, right, you can, delete things as needed. You can rename stuff, create as many of these new collections as you'd like. Okay, so now we're going to do a couple different things on what I kind of call searching sideways, because there are limitations to how you can find things. I mentioned OCR before. Sometimes the OCR quality isn't good just because the original item that we uploaded, the quality just isn't there. We did the best that we could, but if a physical item, say a newspaper, is just kind of like really kind of washed out, or there's a tear in it, the OCR is not going to find that kind of thing. And the other limitation of OCR is, depending on how specific you are, you might need to be a little more broad, and then kind of have to sort of manually browse through some things to kind of see what you're looking for. So I use these as an example. I kind of preloaded these. Let's see what we got. This one should have been. We'll start over. So if you didn't know, there's a thing called the Board of Wagon Road Commissioners. Okay, so um, this is a good example of trying to find things in exact phrase search and getting different results depending on how you enter it. Because if I try to just do a general search, it's going to look for board or of or wagon or road or commissioners. That's a lot of words for it to search individually. You're looking for something very specific. So here's board of wagon road. Okay, we'll just start there. We'll do an exact phrase match because you want to make sure that you find these words in this exact sequence. Okay, 21 results. Board of Wagon Road Commission. 1 result. Board of Wagon Road Commissioners. 16 results. So you can see that depending on how you entered your search, you're going to get different search results. So if you are looking for something very specific, or if the only reference that you have mentioned specifically calling it the Board of Wagon Road Commission, then you're only going to end up with 1 search result. And you might think like, oh, I guess there's only one thing. But this is kind of like that searching sideways that I mentioned. And just kind of recognizing that the more specific you get, the more narrow that your search results are going to be, and the more likely you're going to not see something that you actually do want. Because the Board of Wagon Road Commissioners is going to be something that's related to the commission. Because, you know, the board commission itself versus the commissioners, the people, right? And so the trick is kind of like thinking about how this might have been entered. In this case, you know, 140 years ago, you know, you're trying to sort of think about like, well, you know, how is this printed? Because that's what the OCR is checking for. It's looking for the way the text appears in the original. It doesn't know, you know, what somebody from today might call it, right? It's relying on reading the original text as was written. So you kind of have to think of it, you know, a little bit differently. So this way you don't wind up with, you know, something that, you know, you're only getting 1 search results when, wait a second, there's all sorts of, you know, and actually when I did this search, I was actually surprised there were actually 21 things because it's such a very specific thing that was going on back in the territorial days. But you can see that, you know, hey, you know, it's you've got a mixture of newspapers, you know, again, 21 results isn't a whole lot of things to go through, but again, all of your tools are available over here. So format, this is nice if you have multi-pages. This is happens to be 1 of 1. But if you've only got, you know, anything above 24 and you got multiple pages, the format will tell you, oh, okay, here's all the different formats that they are. So only documents and newspapers. When we did that Grand Canyon search, every item type showed up because it shows up in every item type. Here, your search results, okay, you know you're only dealing with documents and newspapers. That helps kind of organize and let you kind of, you know, get your head around what you're kind of dealing with. Like, okay, like this is as far as I need to go. Okay. So yeah, so that's an example of you kind of have to tinker around, especially if you're doing an exact phrase search. You kind of have to tinker around with the terms that you're using. If you're not getting enough search results, if you only see 1 or nothing, then just kind of, you know, mess around with it. So you can also do, you know, if you weren't happy with the search results, you're like, you know, is there more? Maybe, you know, we can just do this and just call it, you know, board of wagon. Okay, cool. We're just gonna like, and this would be like, this is kind of like as simple as you want to get, because if you just put wagon and board, you know, if you leave any of those words out, if you just put wagon or board, you're gonna get, that's not gonna help you. So we kind of, again, that's kind of the trick of sort of like, you know, tinkering around with the terms so that you get something specific enough that you don't get everything in the site, but also broad enough that you're not cutting yourself off from results that you want. So we're just going to call it, you know, board a wagon, exact phrase search. There's 41. Okay, cool. So maybe there's other things. This is more likely to have what are called false positives or search results that are not relevant. But sometimes, you know, 41 search results, to me at least, that's an acceptable level of possible false positives to at least go through these things and figure out, like, okay, you can tell that these, you know, these are from the other search results. Like, okay, acts and resolutions of the legislative assemblies. Okay, those are kind of the same things. This is more of an outlier, right? So more Arizona characters. This is something that was not in the other search results. So click it open, see what it's all about. maybe it's referencing the same thing, and maybe it's just kind of like it found, it thought it found something, but it really didn't, or it just found one of the words, and then you kind of know that it's like, all right, it's, yeah, all right, fine, it just found the word board. This is not what I want. Move on, right? That kind of thing. So yeah, there's a lot of like fine tuning that you usually need to do depending on kind of what it is that you're looking at. And I will mention one thing while we're here. It's sort of a known issue with newspapers, and it has to do with highlighting text. So running this search result, Board of Wagon Road Commission. Okay, fine. Found one search result. What it's going to do is it's going to give you a preview of where it found that term. Oh, cool. Board of Wagon Road Commission. That's great. The asset ID, when you click on this is going to open to the specific page that the text appeared on. It's going to tell you over here that, yep, I found it in the OCR, as opposed to the metadata, which would be scrolled along here. This is telling you it found it within the text, but there's a problem. It's highlighted here, but it's not highlighted here. It took me to the page, so that's nice. If you just clicked into this, you wouldn't know which page it came on. And some of these newspapers, go on for like, 40 pages. You don't want to have to search that. But where's my text? Why isn't it highlighting? I see that there's a tool that says highlight keywords, but it won't do it. What's going on? This is a known problem where if you do an exact phrase search, text highlighting will not work on newspapers. If you open it up into a PDF, an item that's like a book or a document, it'll open up and take you to that exact spot. I can show you what that looks like. So here you can see it's the same thing. It's highlighting it over here. But over here, when you open it up, oh, cool, Board of Wagon Road. It's 198 pages. It doesn't show up until page 62. You don't have to start on page 1 and scroll all the way until you find it. It's going to highlight it for you, and it's going to show up in the page where it actually is. Green means that's the one that you're currently looking at. That's 1 of 9. If I click over here, 2 of 9, moves on. Now the old one is pink, new one's green. That's just the color palette that happens to be chosen for this. But yeah, so you can see like, oh great, Board of Wagon Road Commissioners. And here you can see that it's like, okay, if you ran the search for Board of Wagon Road Commissioners, this also would have been, this particular item also would have been found in that search. But you can see that it's, your search was for Board of Wagon, so it's going to catch some of that extra stuff. So newspapers, however, don't do that if you do an exact phrase search. So it's a known issue. We don't have a solution, but I'll show you a workaround because depending on the research topic that you've chosen, you're probably going to end up in research in newspapers a lot. We have like over 600,000 pages of newspapers in the memory project. You're very likely to have to end up with newspapers. Okay, so here's the workaround. It's not fun, but this is the most efficient way. This is, I believe, in the user guide, and I believe we have it in the AMPlify research session recording for researching using newspapers specific. That one's dealing specifically with newspaper research. And I believe that one has a slide deck as well, the step-by-step instructions. But I'll show you in real time what that looks like. You're like, okay, fine. Like, I don't want to have to look all this, through all of this. Like, where is it? Or if you did your best, and you're like, okay, I can't find it. If you're lucky, then maybe it'll kind of stand out. So like, here it is. But we're going to pretend that he's like, all right, I can't find it. What's going on? Okay. So what I do is take a note of this specific date. Go back to your search. Reset it. This time, don't do an exact phrase search. Leave it at all keywords. Great. More than 417 pages. How am I supposed to find this one? How am I supposed to find? Now, it's easy to find this item again, but how do I find it with text highlighted so I can actually find the text that I'm looking for? Okay. So take a note of the date, 1887, 310. Come over here, 310, 1887. And the nice thing is it doesn't have to be 2 different dates. It can be the same date twice. So that way it's telling you, you're telling the system, I only want only search items that have this specific date. Great, done. There's 3 items. If you still wound up with a bunch of extras, that's when you would come over here to the format. It's a newspaper. You can tell over here. But fortunately, there's only 3 results. So here it is again. Now it's going to find, here's your previews again. Fortunately, they all show up on the one we're looking for. Here you can see kind of how that, because we didn't do exact phrase search, it has more results. So it's like, great, it found board, it found road, it found Board of Wagon Commission. So this is helpful if you want to find the page where it's like, okay, because it's looking for all the words, look for the little preview where it has all the words highlighted. So then you would click into this asset ID. An asset ID really just means the page that it's in. Again, great. Now you can see that the text is highlighted. So we're on the same page as we were before. Page 3, page 3. Text highlighting does not work. Text highlighting does work, and you can toggle it on and off as you like. So that's the workaround. Do the original search that you did to find the item, but don't make it exact phrase search. Just leave it generic, but use the date. And again, you're only going to have to do this with newspapers. And since the newspapers all have the titles all have the same format, name of newspaper, date in the year, month, day format. So just keep that in mind. This is year, month, day. The search results want you to do it in a month, day, year. So you just kind of have to, readjust that to get the correct date filter in there. But once you do that, cool. So now, if you're looking for it, again, it's going to look for, just board. You might find that, there are other non-wagon road commissioner boards. So like over here, I spotted something. Yeah. Notice is here, and it's still really small. Notice is hereby given that a board of officers, right? So that's the word board, but it's not related to the wagon one. And again, the nice thing about newspaper, sometimes this happens. If it ever goes away, refresh the page. Sometimes it gets a little weird about how it displays when you're kind of scrolling around. Yeah, anyway, so yeah, once you find that you're in the right article, it's like, okay, I know this one's talking about the Board of Wagon Road Commissioners. Cool. Then just read it like any other newspaper, just follow the column, and then it wraps up to the top. And the nice thing about keeping the highlights on is that you can track where it is. And so it might be that this article started on page 1 and then it moved over to page 3 to finish off, that kind of thing, right? And so as you move along, you can navigate pages from here. It's going to keep highlighting. This one's talking about the Board of Prisoners. Okay, that's not relevant. Board of Supervisors, that's something else, right? So you just kind of make your way through, keep the highlighting on, and then, just kind of, this helps you just keep track of where things are. So you don't have to read all of this trying to find that one, phrase that you're looking for. So yeah, so that's kind of that's how you kind of deal with newspapers, and that's more of an advanced thing that it just helps to kind of get around that known problem. All right. And the other thing that I was going to show, as far as, again, this is sort of like searching sideways. If you were going to do research on State Farm Stadium, University of Phoenix Stadium, right? It's been known by multiple names. If you try and search for, say, State Farm Stadium, because okay, well, State Farm Stadium, I'm going to go search for that. You're not going to find it in any of these search results, depending on, well, this is telling you State Farm Stadium, like you're going to get those search results that have this, but you're not going to find this article because this was written when it was still being built. So you can see that, this article is about how the new stadium is going to get the Super Bowl. But you can see here, Super Bowl, what is that, 52, which will be played February 3rd, 2008. At Glendale's yet to be named stadium under construction. So sometimes you have to think again, like, okay, what year are you looking for items? Because if it's like, oh, I'm just going to call it, I'm going to run my search for State Farm Stadium. I want to know, I'm looking for articles about when it was built. It didn't have a name at that time. So the way around that is, again, you kind of have to make things a little more broad. So you're not looking for State Farm Stadium anymore. You just put in stadium. And then here that date trick can work too, because this works if you already, happened to find it. But if you know that your stadium construction began in 2003, I think it ended. I think it was completed in 2006. So if you want to do just stadium, actually let's reset this so nothing gets remembered. So stadium, leave it broad. You can't, if you have a single word search, exact phrase search doesn't do anything because you're only looking for one term. But here you can do date. So let's just call it January 1 of 2003. It's supposed to be finished by the end of 2006. Just call it that. So now you have these two dates, you're only going to be searching. So now we go from 9,700 to 257, still quite a bit, but you can see that, okay, there's 167 documents, 5 newspapers, 85 periodicals. Let's say you're interested in local news coverage because that's what you're looking at. Click those 5 things. Great. Here it is. The Voice. That's the article. And then again, you do the same thing. Click the previews, scroll down, see where it's talking about, a new stadium. What's this? Oh, hey, that looks like a picture. Click into it. Great. And since you didn't do an exact phrase search, the text will highlight. So yeah, so again, that's again kind of like thinking sideways about it, where now it's called State Farm Stadium, or now it's called University of Phoenix Stadium, depending on what it's known now. But what would it have been referred to at the time that you're researching? So that's just kind of something to keep in mind. So yeah, there's 100 little examples like that, where you kind of have to sort of being able to sort of understand that there are limits to how OCR works. Sometimes like an exact phrase search, this looks like it's probably fine. But if any word sort of like get hyphenated and kind of moved over from like, the end of a line moved to the next one, like if it was, the Board of Wagon hyphen commissioners or something like that, it may not find it because now the text is wrapped and it's kind of, it's trying to read it like a book, top, left to right, top to bottom. And so like, newspapers can get a little weird just because, you've got, 3 columns. So, if you're reading like a book, it would go from left to right all the way across, but that's not how these work. This is, multiple columns, right? So sometimes that can throw off the OCR. And so sometimes if you're not finding something, try again. It's usually the solution is to make things less specific, more broad, just in case, because if Board of Commissioners was wrapped and it didn't find, Board of Wagon Road Commissioners got wrapped and didn't find that entire phrase, maybe it found Board of Wagon, and that gets you where you need to go. So yeah, there's kind of like a lot of little things like that that you kind of just need to keep in mind. You're almost trying to sort of kind of outsmart the platform, because you just kind of have to think a little bit differently about how things are going to appear in the item that you're looking for, because that's what all OCR is relying on. So yeah, that's what I had to show you for today. I'll just do a quick recap of my collection, just to sort of bring it up again, because I think this one is more for this presentation is more geared towards researchers, journalists, people are doing a lot of heavy duty research. So I just want to make sure that that these tools are here to bookmark things. You can organize it as long as you're logged in. This stuff will stay here until you tell it to go away. And then yeah, all your best search option friends are going to be over here. And yeah, I'll just reiterate that advanced search or exact phrase search is really helpful, but sometimes it can trip you up and it can lead to fewer search results than you actually want. Like you don't want to end up with one search result when there are actually 41 that are relevant, but it's not magic, right? You have to kind of, come at it from a few different angles to make sure that you're catching everything. And you're going to have to do some kind of, manual review and just check. It's like, okay, like here's 41 results. Maybe only 29 are actually relevant, but the alternative is I only get one search result and then I lose out on those other 28 things. So that's just kind of the nature of doing research on a platform like this. You kind of have to work with the limitations of the platform, the limitations of the technology, and just kind of think about different ways to use the site to kind of get the search results that you want. And again, anytime you need to get in touch with me, you can always do that. If you're logged in and you click to contact us, That'll take you to this page. It's going to fill out with your credentials. My username for these purposes is AMPmember with this email address. When you're logged in as you, this will fill out with your credentials. Type in whatever you want. Send it along. That comes to me. You can also just email me directly. If you're kind of suspicious of web forms, not going through or something, you can always just directly email me at azmemory@azlibrary.gov. And if you have a question about a certain item, you can always click this button as long as you're logged in. Very similar looking page, but the difference is this sends me a link to the item that you're asking about. So if you click the contact us button from an item, that link to the item will be included, and then I'll know immediately the item that you're referencing. Either way works, but if you have a question about a specific item, the item level is the best way to do it. If you have just a generic question, generic contact us, direct email, that works. So yeah, that's what I've got. I'll leave it open for any questions that anyone has. Let me just see. Okay. I do see a couple questions. Can you limit the search to a specific publication, e.g. the Jewish news? Not really. There's not a good way to do that. If you know that you want the Jewish news, I'll show you one thing that we added. We'll use this one as an example. Phoenix Jewish News. One thing we did add, so these are any item that's formatted as a collection. Others include sub-collection, publication sets, things like that. They'll have a collection search. It's remembering everything that I typed in any search bar, so you can feel free to make that go away. But the nice thing, so this, unlike the main search bar that's over here, this is only going to search items that are 341 items that are linked to the Phoenix Jewish News collection. The only limitation on this is you can't do any of those other advanced searches. You can't do an exact phrase search. You can't, give it a specific date that you want. Not from here anyway. So if you wanted to, I don't know, I'm just going to use this because I know this should show up. I'm going to type in, just call it welfare. If you're interested in welfare. Okay. Well, that's most of them. I guess that's popular. It's almost every item. So anyway, it's going to give you the search results. Now you do have these tools here where it's like, okay, fine, that's too many. Just give me something from 1953. Cool. Now we're down to 21. And then this behaves exactly the same way that it would for any other search. Jewish welfare fund, right? So you do all that same stuff that we did before. Close that out these tabs. There we go. Yeah. So skip that. So yeah, if you already know the name of the collection that you're looking for, and you get to its landing page, then you can do a search within it. So you can see that the only search results were for the Phoenix Jewish News. It ignored, every other item that's in there. So yeah, but again, the only downside is you're gonna have to do more filtering and faceting over here just to compensate for the fact that this is doing a kitchen sink style search. It's looking for everything. But on the upside, it does mean that since it doesn't do an exact phrase search, you know that the text will always highlight in your search results, so you don't ever have to do that workaround. So it's that's kind of the thing. It's like you win some, you lose some. A lot of stuff on the site kind of cuts both ways. It's like, well, this is a downside, but it's an upside over here, kind of thing. So again, that's something that you'll kind of figure out as you kind of use the platform a little bit more. But yeah, broadly, you can see that. Look, if I just do something like this, welfare, I don't have anything that lets me pick a collection and say like, oh, I only want to search this collection. So you can't start from a search and tell it this is the only collection I want to search. You have to find the collection you want first. Then you can do that from that custom search box. And I'll put it along here. If you're just browsing and you're just kind of like, well, what's in here anyway? You can always do a browse all and then click your formats. So if you're looking for a collection, this is going to by default do it by alphabetical, which is probably the most useful way to do it for a list of collections, but you can also add it most recently. So if you're just kind of browsing the site, and you're like, okay, what's the newest stuff they've added? Earliest Z to A. We didn't turn this on yet. The other way you can do it, again, finding the collection in the first place. If you're like, okay, well, I know Jewish is, I don't know the exact name of it, but I think Jewish is in there somewhere. Click on that. 9,911 things. Well, that's, again, this is trying to sort by relevancy, but it may be the thing that you need is on page 306. You can come over here, format, it's a collection, or it ought to be a collection, like Phoenix Jewish News. And then here's only the collections that have the word Jewish in it. And you can okay. And then click on that. Kind of a bad example because there's only one item, but you can see that, this also has the same custom search box. So that's probably the easiest way to search within a specific collection. I want to say, let me try one thing and see if it's turned on to see if it's functioning the way it's supposed to. Let's see. It may not quite work this way. Let me see if I can get. Okay. This may be helpful. Mileage may vary. But okay, very broad search. Okay. But if you're looking for an image or something, some of these drop downs are going to have contributing institution. So here you can see that the Arizona Jewish Historical Society contributed 595 photos. So oh, okay, I am interested in Jewish history. I'm interested in images. I'm going to click on this. That's going to give you, again, a search results page. But the nice thing is you can always be like, oh, interesting, community center. You can always come back to, it's like, okay, where did this come from? So these links, will all link to things that have the same value in it. So this Jewish Community Center photo came from this sub collection, which came from this collection. You just kind of work your way back. This one doesn't, because this is formatted a little bit differently, it doesn't have just a bunch of individual items. This one doesn't have a custom search. But if you are interested, then you can say oh, okay, well, here's all the collections that came from the Jewish Historical Society. So we try to leave as many links and breadcrumbs as possible. So you can kind of, well, all right, I found one thing that I like. How many more things like it are in the site? And then you can kind of make your way back to contributor or collection or things like that. Yeah, that's a good question. We have a question, how do I watch the webinar? So up in the chat, you'll see a link that starts with AZ memory, AZ library, nodes, view 26664. That is going to be where all of these AMPlify sessions get uploaded. So keep that link handy. And later today or tomorrow, this presentation will be uploaded there, along with all the other AMPlify sessions that we've done. Very helpful. Thank you. Thanks for the use drop downs. Awesome. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll give it a couple more minutes in case anyone has any other questions that they think of. Yeah, hopefully, yeah, I'm seeing some comments that it was helpful. So I'm glad that it was. Hope that you have, a pleasant experience using the site. I mentioned before, this is the last Amplifier session for 2025. Next year happens to be AMP's Arizona Memory Project, AMP's 20th anniversary. So we're going to be doing some special online events for that. I think there's going to be one, later in the year. We're still in the planning stages for that, but there'll be sort of, more presentations similar to this one. But yeah, the AMPlify ones are, they tend to be once a month, June to October. So we probably won't have another one of these like this until June of next year. We do have generic information sessions. I'll point those out real quick just while we're here. I assume if you were here because you're interested in power using, you kind of know what AMP is, how it works. But I will show this nonetheless since we're here. So here goes information sessions. These are a little bit different. These are just kind of like a broad 30,000-foot view of the memory project. So, these AMPlify sessions are topic specific, how to do a deep dive, how to search brand books, how to run a search, those kinds of things. This is just what is the memory project? How do I use it? What if I have stuff that I want to contribute? And it's more like community updates, like, oh, hey, we changed a few things, quality of life fixes and things like that. So, but if you're interested, we do have one more of these coming up in November. If you have the same link for where you registered for this event, you can use that to sign up for that an information session event as well. I will say though, probably 85 to 90% of the information is the same. So if you really just need a broad overview, just kind of want to get like a very, very broad baseline for what the project is and that kind of thing. You can click on one of these and most of the information you need will be there. All right, just looking for any other questions that anyone has. I don't see any in the chat. Yeah, thanks everyone for the kind words about how helpful this has been for you. But yeah, again, I'll leave it open for a couple more minutes just in case anybody has any last minute questions. But yeah, I hope you enjoy the site. You can always contact me if something looks something's not working, you can't find something, you need help of any kind. You can always email me. I'll leave this up for you actually now. But drop it in the chat as well. So yeah, anything that you need, I'm here to help. So thanks everybody, and I hope to see you at a future event. Hope to hear from you, and happy researching.